What we're going to try to do today is work backwards a little bit. If I can find, or I happen to know, some kind of thing that I do that gets my voice resonating in the right place, then why can't I just use the sensation that it gives me as a support method, as a way to get my voice to work? Let's say I want to find I'd like to sing with this sound I made that I like so much. Like ba 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 ba. If I do that, what happens down here that I can identify and then use that to sing with? So I've got a good sound, I think. My nose is closed, it's not nasal. Ba 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 ba. You see, there's no nasality in it. It's not ma 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 ma. It's ba 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 ba. But I like to be able to use that a lot, maybe as the placement of my voice that I can sing with. So I'd use it as a vocalise. It's just another form of instigator, really. I'm going to do something that causes a certain reaction in my breathing and in my body. And when I do that, I'm going to try to identify what it does down here, and then I'm going to use it as a way to sing. So let's start with Bob. Here I go. Ba 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 ba. All right, I look down and I feel that definitely in my body is responding in a certain way. Ba 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 ba. All right, now I'm going to identify that and I'm going to try to sing with it. So what I'm doing is using the reaction to this instigator I used called Bob, and then look down there and try to identify what in the world is going on in my body. See? So Bob is a good one to start with, and we've got, and needless to say, many of these that I stole, borrowed, or begged, or got somehow from some great singer somewhere. I didn't make these up. But let's say that I do the lip clef. Now Helge Roslinger taught me this one, and you go, clef. It's not a hum, and it's not just an M. It's a lip clamp. You clamp your lips together as tight as you can and make them turn white if you can. So look down inside and see what kind of reaction I get. And I'm going to try to use that reaction, identify it, and sing with it. See? So you can see I'm keeping the reaction that I got to the lip clamp. There it is. All of these depend on breathing in a certain way, which is I breathe down my back and way down low as far as I can get down my back to my tailbone, and I fill up myself with air. If I do that, now I'm full of air. Now that's also going to have an effect on when I sing. It's going to make me, if I sing within those limitations, the limitations of big breathing, I get. Okay, let's identify that. See, where is that? The idea is to identify reactions that are caused by very specific actions, and hopefully all of these actions were ones that I stole from great singers in the past. We're talking about over 60 years ago, 62, 63 years ago. And there were great singers in the world at that time, and I picked the brains of nearly every one of them. The only two that wouldn't talk to me were Cesare Siepi and Cornell MacNeil, and I asked MacNeil, I said, why don't you talk to the young singers? He said, because we're afraid we might tell you something that might make you hurt your voice. I said, okay, but all the other singers are willing to talk for hours about technique with young singers. And so it was pretty easy to get it from most of the singers, so the large majority. All right, so let's try another one. Now we've got what's called the falsetto attachment. This is very, very common among tenors especially, but the women, well, I'll show you what the women do. If I go, ooh, ah, now I just attached my falsetto to my diaphragm. But I have to look down and see where is that. Ooh, ah, where is the point of attachment? Ooh, ah, what do I do to maintain that? Now I've got to repeat it if I want to use it as a technique to sing with. I have to identify that. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. All right, I'm going to try to identify. Here we go. Overhead the moon is beaming, white as blossoms on the wall. I can sing there if I can identify what that instigator caused to happen in my, I should say in my breathing. Because all of these support systems are one way or another a modification of the deep breath I took. So I'm breathing way down as low as I can, and I'll look and see another on the list called the hung line. Now, hung line was very used by Max Lorenz, a famous dramatic tenor, really held an heroic tenor, who sang all the big heavy Wagner parts in Berlin during the war, during the Second World War. And he had a phenomenal voice, great big voice. But what was his technique? His technique, as I understand it, was given him by James King and people like that, and I talked to all those people about what Max Lorenz was teaching. What was he telling them? Well, you go, hung, and that's in the nose, and you avoid that like mad, so you cannot sing nasally. So what you do is you identify the hung line nose, the nose line, and go, hung, and then you put your vowel over it so that it sits up in your forehead. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? So if I do that, now, can I look down here in my body and figure out what the heck am I doing? Down here in my stomach, my diaphragm, my flanks, my lower back, the rib cage in the lower back. What in the world is happening in my breathing process where it suddenly becomes a support system? And by support we mean really some form of stopping the breath. I mean, Abadi said, don't sing breathy. Mattia Battistini said, he pressed his chest. All right, so let's press my chest. That's another instigator. That means when I cough, I go, but what if I don't make the noise? What if I only prepare to cough? And I go, and you'll feel right before you cough, you press the breath up against your chest, and really then against the diaphragm. So I'm going to do that. Ready? Now I want to identify that. What am I doing? What in the world did that pre-cough posture of the breath pressed up against my chest, what did it do and how can I repeat it? Well, I did it. For better or for worse, that's what I did. And some people don't like it. Some people will like it. Some people, a lot of singers love the way that one feels. I can tell you that right now. All right, now let's try another one. Here we go. Now we got the tongue trill. And the tongue trill is done this way. With the tongue, not the lisp, not but. Now you can see it completely relaxes the root of my tongue and my throat. Everything in here is completely relaxed. But that's not the issue today. Today what I'm talking about is what in the world does it cause down here that I can identify and repeat and use as a vocal technique. Now think about it. Somebody go what am I doing then? Wie weiß das Lied dieser Knaben, sei wie mir ins Herz gegraben. What in the world am I repeating? Well, I was trying to repeat the reaction I got in my body, not just my diaphragm, my ribs, everything, my flanks, everything, my back. What in the world, how can I identify what does to my body? If I can do that, by golly, I can use it to sing with. Can I keep it going? See, that's the idea. Most of these techniques require tremendous development of the breath capacity. You have breath capacity, breath strength, breath flexibility, flexibility of the rib cage. You have all of these considerations, but the number one is capacity. The bigger drum, the bigger the sound. So if I can get my whole body, I weigh 230 pounds, if I get my whole body to open up and let me fill that up, I will have a better sound with more overtones in it than if I don't breathe. See? If I blow my breath out, I go, I can still sing, but it's very much closed up in the nose, and it doesn't have much width and color on it. So I breathe. It's better if I take a deep breath. By the way, how do I sound like if I use a deep breath as an instigator? If I go, so all of these, they're all working. I use, by the way, I'm going to say I've used them all. One time or another, I use every cotton picking one of them. As soon as I'd get one from some famous singer, I would try my best to do it. And it's very dangerous to try to imitate the sound. Richard Trimble used to say, ignore the sound, never listen, because by the time it happens, by the time you hear it, it's already happened. You've got to learn to deal with the breath, because the breath business all occurs before the sound is made. So you get in charge of being ahead of your voice and not always behind your voice, listening to it to see if it's going to be all right. Sometimes curiosity kills the cat. You know, we're so busy listening to see what it sounds like that we lose our whole psychological orientation about being in the body, with the body, using the body, identifying the body. Right? Let's try another one. Here we go. Now we've got the miniature cough. Now watch this one. Now what's happening down here? So I sing like that. Have I got this identified? Somebody said, do the miniature cough. I do the miniature cough. This is the way it works. And then I grabbed it and I ran with it. But I ran with the cough, not knowing what it would do in my body. Now I have to find out what that particular technique that person gave me, and I got to see what it does to my body and how it works. So I sit around doing miniature coughs until I can identify the whole diaphragmatic rib cage process. So I go, first of all, you notice, just like the big cough, before the actual cough, there's a buildup of pressure of breath against my diaphragm. My back does this, and my back squeezes some air against my diaphragm. But it's not a huge amount. It's a miniature cough. That was Manuel Garcia's whole technique, by the way. Got world famous telling singers to use miniature coughs, little baby coughs. Babies, when they cry, go, ah, 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 ah. Don't try to imitate that sound. You're an adult. You don't sound anything like that. But you can miniature cough down here like a baby does. And babies go, I've had 4. I studied them pretty closely. So the idea is to do that process of the miniature cough and identify what it does to your breathing, your rib cage, your diaphragm, and your lower back. See? I won't guarantee that's in the right key. I think it's too high, but it doesn't matter. So that was another one. Just chalk these up. You can write down, make a list. And if you're interested in this approach, it is a very, very, very efficient approach. It really does work. Now, here comes its opposite, right? The cough is out. It's one of the versions, one of the variations of the Valsalva maneuver, which is exhale and stop it. And by the way, that's another whole technique. If I go, so you realize the Valsalva maneuver in its purity, which is exhale and stop the exhalation by closing the glottis. When you start to sing, you maintain all of that air processing that's going in the body, and you relax your vocal cords, and you can sing without it being any kind of glottal stroke or any kind of problem. Unfortunately, you can sing the glottal stroke too. It's not what we want to do because the voice wears out. Sometimes they get very damaged, sometimes they get just dead and they won't vibrate properly. So let's try another one. Let's try the hiccup. Now here we go. The hiccup is called the Miller maneuver. It's a process of this. You inhale and then again you close your throat to stop the inhalation. So if I do hiccup again. Now, can I look down here and identify what's happening in my body? If I can use it. See, I can do all of these if I can just identify these processes. I can use them all. Any of them. I should say any of them. Because you do them specifically. You pick one and you work on it till you can use it. And it depends on what kind of music you're singing too, very much, right? There's no reason why I can't use the hiccup and sing big stuff. One at Tenor, one at Sighing. Ein Schwert, ich will der Vater, ich war. In other words, why can't I, if I want to, sing with a bigger hiccup? But be careful that you identify these processes because they must happen in the throat, in the body, and not to the throat. Don't let them beat on your throat. They can shape your throat. But when you the whole time you're singing, if the activity is down here, the throat doesn't do anything. So I can shake my throat, wiggle my throat, anytime I'm singing because my processing is down here. Everything is loose up here because I'm not using it. In fact, if I want to, I can make this invisible. I know it sounds crazy, but if I really try to make my entire throat and larynx and my tongue, everything feel that it's not there, I do this. Now, if I'm going to sing, how the world am I going to sing? By not using any of this. Well, what am I doing down here then? How can I identify this process that's happening in order to keep this all free? I'm doing something down below. And that something down below is what the heck is going on. It's a lot to identify. And you over and over and over, you establish this nothingness here and go, oh, 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 oh. Literally, there's no action of any kind from here to here. And the reaction to what I'm doing below, if there is one, because you don't feel anything when you do it, the reaction would have to be described as making this totally a zero action zone. It sets it absolutely free. I know it sounds weird. It's like working backwards. I'm going to establish my throat free and with no activity and then try to sing. Well, I can do it. Now I just have to identify what I did. See? So much of great singing it has to do with identification. Process identification. People breathe a certain way until they get the voice to work. A lot of people want to feel resonance. And if I get that resonance, I've got to identify how I got it. See? We don't want accidents, not accidents. I mean, you do some of these operas, they're monsters, some of them. They go for literally for 5.5 hours. And you must be able to not just stand on 2 feet that long, but sing too. All right, now what's another one? Let's check, let's see what we got here. Oh, well, we got nyam nyam. Now, nyam nyam is a common one at a certain period during the Second World War. A lot of singers were using a kind of a frontal resonance like this. We don't know why, but you know, it got very popular. So I go nyam 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 nyam. Certainly gives me resonance, and the resonances all up here. So now I've got to identify what in the world did I do to cause that to happen. I know I said nyam nyam, but nyam nyam is not what's causing it to sing this way. Nyam nyam is instigating something in my breathing and in my body and in my support, and that is giving me that the result of that is that I'm able to sing with that. Nyam 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 See? Diverse, diverse, yum, 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 yum. So what is it doing down there? It's amazing how many different ways there are to sing, if you think about it. But all of them have an instigator somewhere, and all of them do things to get started. Some people don't do anything from here up at all. They do everything down below. And once you identify these processes that are going on, they're all slightly different. They all depend on breathing way down in your lower back. Certain things are absolutely forbidden. You do not push your stomach out when you breathe. If you do, your voice will be nasal. If I push my stomach out and go, yum, 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 yum. That sounds pretty good on a record. It sounds in this room. It sounds fine. And maybe I can record it, make it sound good. But if I get in a big theater, I realize, wait a minute, I'm going to breathe that way. Are you ready? Here we go. Yeah, I'm filling out my stomach over there. And you realize pushing my stomach out when I breathe puts my voice in my nose. In order to, first of all, it doesn't carry well. It sounds like it should penetrate through an orchestra, but it doesn't. It blends with an orchestra. The one you need is this one. That'll fill a big. I've done it many times. My record was 11,400 seats, no microphones. I did the Aston Music Festival. That was Penderecki's big piece, Utrenia, with 166 players in the orchestra and 60 of them were brass, no microphones. So you better hope you do some of that. I was in Frankfurt. We stayed Damnation of Faust by Berlioz. He comes out, sings a big nature and you realize every player in the orchestra is playing his note. And no microphones, right? So you must find these sounds, these ways of singing that carry, and so many people are so mistaken about what they think carries. Yum, 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 yum. It does not carry. But yum, 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 yum will carry like a rocket. If I go ma, 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 it won't carry. If I go ba, 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 it will carry. See? So how in the world do I do this? I've got all of these instigators that I stole with so many people. My gosh. What if I sigh? Now what does that do? Think about this. I've got a keyboard right behind me. I'm not paying any attention to what notes I'm singing, right? But if I sigh, now what did I do? I did this. It doesn't sound like it. I did it right here. So what does sighing do to my entire respiratory process? What's my back doing when I'm sighing? What are my lower ribs doing? You see? The throat's not doing anything. Nothing. So I can sigh all over the place. I can sigh here, and great singers did that. Tito Schipa did this one. So did Claudio Muzio. A lot of singers sang here across the epigastrium. If you sigh there, la, asira mia khalasala tua tumia consarda. And you can sing all over the place, different kinds of repertoire. With one of these, we'll cover a number. Sometimes you have to switch. You don't necessarily want to switch. You like one better than the others, but the switching one works better and lets you get through some let's say, more difficult music. All right, so we worked our way down. Now I'm all the way down to my epigastrium. Now I'm going to do what Pavarotti did. Pavarotti was a big sire, breath stopper, on his navel. All right, so I'm going to stop my breath. It's sitting on my navel. I'm going to sigh on my navel. What happens if I sing like that? Now, am I imitating him? I'm not trying to make his sound, but I sure am trying to take advantage of someone who found a great technique that worked great for him, which was his naval breath stop. So if I go like that, non di angeli luce non lontano giorno io t'ho sorriso e quel sorriso dolce mi fanciulla ascolta. I think I was a great singer. So he sang a lot of stuff like that where he could sustain on his navel. Now, as soon as I got that piece of information, I ran around going, trying to find my navel. And as you gradually do it, you begin to, wait a minute, you realize, yeah, this does sound like maybe I'll be able to sing with it. I did the falsetto stop before, the attachment, remember? That was up here. I wonder if I attach my falsetto to my navel. See? My favorite thing Pavarotti sang was Ballo, and he Ballo Mask, he'd go, what I forgot. Anyway, look how many ways there are to sing, folks. And you know what? They all work. Every configured one of them work. And some great singer in some place was telling me to do it this way. And I went to Richard Tucker and I said, what am I supposed to do? Everybody's telling me something different. I was in the Metropolitan Opera School 5 years, from 58 to 63. And I was saying, every great singer, I try to pick their brains, and sure enough, something comes out, but it's always something different that I don't know. I've never heard anybody say that before. Tucker said, look, all you can do is try them all and try to see if you find one that suits you, or use them all and let them all sort of come together and end up with a method that you can use. He's a very smart man, that man. He was a great singer, too, let me tell you. Anyway, so I did sigh, and now I've got one called Hula. Hula is a reinforced breath stop on the diaphragm. It was used specifically by Laurence Melchior, the greatest Helden tenor. He was the great, heavy, monster tenor that sang all the big Wagner operas, and was #1 in that. He was respected. Now, but think what he did. He did this. Hula, hula, hula. You hear him vocalize. He'd be warming up. He'd be worried. Hula, hula, hula. Now, if I do that, what in the heck is happening down here? Hula. First of all, the air's coming out of my back, so I've got to breathe very low in my back to be able to do any of these. So I'll breathe way down low in my back. I go, hula, hula, hula. Now I've got to identify that because I have to use it when I sing. So I go, hula, ah, hula, ah, hula, ah. Got it? So I sing something like, I should get the proper key in some of these. Here we go. So I'm going to go, hula, morgendlich leidet im rosigen Schein. Von Blüß und Duft geschwellt die Luft, von alle Sonnen, ein Garten lud mich ein, dort unter einem Wunderbaum, von Früchten Reine hangen. And then lets me sing Wagner. And I did all the lyric Wagner. I didn't do that big heavy stuff like Tannhäuser and Tristan and Siegfried. But I did everything else. And in a sense, I stole Melchior's technique. And one day I was singing for him, and I was going, he said, what are you doing? I said, I'm imitating you. He said, but to imitate me, you must have a voice like me. You do not have a voice like me. My voice is heavier than yours. He said, you're a lyric tenor, a big lyric. So you're what they call lirico forte. You're a very strong, big lyric voice, but you're still a lyric tenor. So I said, okay, then if I can't imitate you, what am I do about that music? He said, don't sing it. So I never did sing any of the what we call the big four, right? So Göttner Dämmerung, Siegfried, Tannhäuser, and Tristan, you just don't want to sing those. You just stay away from them, right? But I could reinforce, because I learned it from him, and I use it in other places. So I use it in Carmen, third act, when it's sort of like heroic. All right, so now what else we got? Now we've got other things that we can do. What if I snore and I go? Now remember, I'm sucking air in against resistance up in here somewhere. See? So I go. What is it doing down inside my body? So then somebody comes along and tells me, oh no, you got to sing like you snore. What do you mean like you snore? You know, go. I mean, I could go on all day. I mean, Leonard Warren told me to sing like I'm about to sneeze. But what does it do in my body? What is it I have to identify if I do these little tricks or something? They're causing a whole process to happen in my breathing apparatus. And that's why you can't do any of these if you don't develop your breathing. Right? So here I've got, what's another one? Let's see, we've got, of course, we've got La Messa di Voce, the crescendo decrescendo. Now what's this? So I practice that, some easy note, not too high, until I can get the attack to be smooth and go out and then smoothly come back. And then I take a look and say, what is my body doing down inside when I do that? What am I doing? What am I doing? Inside my body, inside my rib cage. What is my diaphragm doing? Where is it going when I breathe in? Every singer I ever talked to, every major singer that I ever talked to, yeah, I interviewed a lot of them, and a lot of them I sang for them. But everybody talked about, oh, well, you got to breathe. You have to breathe. They talked about breathing immediately, and everybody, probably 99%, talked about breathing in the back. Probably 75% said, and pull in your abdomen inward while you're doing it. It's in the Caruso books, as a matter of fact. Pull your belly inward and breathe way down low on your back. So I went to the pulmonologist, and I was telling him all these different ways to breathe. And he said, well, of course, if you breathe like that, you can double your breath capacity. Your diaphragm goes down this way, then it goes down this way. And if I get this part and then get this part, all of a sudden I've got a double drum. I can double the size of my drum, so my sound gets richer. So I go, right? Se qualquer dia vossi, segno sogno si avrà, un esagero di prodi guidano. So what am I doing in my body with all of these? You get the point. I have, on these 2 pages, I've got 92 of these, and I've got 400, 500, 1,000 in my files. And I got all of those are pieces of advice from great singers, you know. And it depends what you're singing is another thing. If I'm like sliding back and down, what if I go, Because some singers said slide back and down. I tried it. It worked for me. But how do I analyze what I'm doing so that I can repeat it consistently? See? What do I do when I go? If I want to sing like that, what do I do? I'm sliding back and down, whatever that means. But I did it until I began somehow my body began to understand it. A little bit like learning to ride a bicycle. You don't know what the heck you're doing, but you know that somebody says, sit on it like this, put your feet on the pedals, put your hand on the handlebars, and I'll give you a shove, and you fall down. I didn't learn until I was 12 years old, so I remember very well. I'm a late learner, period, right? But I can go on and on and on. I think I think you sort of get the idea by now, so I won't drive anyone crazy with this. But you can see that there's all kinds of power. There's wheezing. Some singers squeeze like that. I never did like that one very much. Right? The other was is to let all your breath out. Now I'm basically outside, but I'm empty. I have no air, or not. So the way I get to the air that I have left over in my lungs somewhere is I squeeze, or as I say in Italian, push. Spingere. A spinto singer is one who's empty of air, but it still has residual air he can squeeze out. So he does it. In other words, I'm squeezing the air that I have left out of my lower back, and when I do it, I say, "Well, I feel that." And all of a sudden, they say, "Oh, you're a spinto." Well, I'm not sure I was ever really a spinto, but I knew how to spingere when I sang. The greatest of those that I heard was Giovanni Martinelli, and there was nothing pretty about his voice, but it was a monster voice, huge. And I said, what in the world do you do to get your voice so huge? He said, well, I took Caruso's place here, and I knew I could never let myself be compared to Caruso. No one could be compared to Caruso. So I decided the one thing that I had that was a big plus for me, I had a big voice. So I decided I would sing with nothing but the spinto method, and I would do a little hammering. Now the hammering is really, really interesting. But if I go, first I'm gonna blow my breath out, then I'm gonna squeeze. Now if I add to that hammering, I get. I said, that's not very legato for an Italian singer. He said, I don't care about legato. Caruso had legato. I cannot make legato like Caruso. So I make sounds that are big. And people that heard him loved him because his voice was completely monstrously huge, right? And the management loved him because in 33 years of singing the Metropolitan Opera, he never even canceled a rehearsal. He never canceled anything. He was absolutely, totally reliable with that method. You think that's interesting? First do it, identify it, but you got to do it right. Be sure that if you establish a criteria that your throat and jaw and tongue are like this, blah, no action. Now, if I do that and try to sing, I go, I can't sing. I have to breathe way down in my lower back and go, now try it again. What if I just sing like I'm hollow? There's nothing inside of me, and I sing down in there. I'm just one big old drum. That's all I am. And I sing down in my hollow drum and go, see? There's so many darn ways to sing, and it's all about, like it says in Shakespeare, in Hamlet, he says, nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so. I may love, you may hate it, or you may like it. I don't like it, particularly when I sing a lot of German music, you know.
Weisen sind dahin. Alles, was ich konnte schauen, weil es sich losgehen. Alles, was ich konnte sehen.
And so forth. It says, ba, 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 ho, ho, ba, ba, ba. And you sing a lot of that music and you go,
oh, Richtung Haare, welche mich fast Verzweiflung, voller Sport, mich fast Verzweiflung, voller mich fast Verzweiflung, voller Sport, und riecht kein Haar, und diese Nächte, und rinnt kein Strahl durch diese Nächte.
in other words, I'd like to do that for hours, hours, and hours, and then more hours, right? But you understand, that last bit, I was just doing the hollow drum with the breath filling up. Where even Tetrazzini said in her book, she said the first drop of air goes into the lower rear quadrant of the lungs. So when I get myself completely hollow, then I go. And Joan Sutherland said she breathed up her rectum. That means your mind is sitting way down low in your body. You're going. See, I mean, I want to sing La Boheme that way. See? So sometimes you have to alter things to find the right one for the music. I used to do cavalry rusticana all the time with breath of fire, if you know what that is. In yoga, you pant real fast in and out and you're way down your abdomen. Like that. If I do that, in other words, by activating like crazy, it dominates everything in my breath, in my breath function. And if you have the stamina, I couldn't do it for any other whole opera. I would use it occasionally for different phrases. But that's a one-act opera, so I was able to do it through a one-act opera, but I couldn't do it through, I sang lots of big stuff, very long opera. Don Carlo well, when I did Don Carlo Verdi in the French version, it was 5 hours long. I did my singer for Nuremberg, it's 5.5 hours long. I did Queen of Spades by Tchaikovsky, and that's almost about 4 hours and 45 minutes. And you're out there singing like this, boom, 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 the whole time. I mean, you cannot hide. Every note needs to be, shall we say, full. Okay? Anyway, that'll give you an idea about doing things to get the breath to work, and then once it works, like ba 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 will make it work. And once it does, you look and say, now what am I doing? How can I turn that into a method that I can use to sing everything? Or a lot of things, maybe not everything, but a lot of things. What did I do? I did that bam ba 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 and found out what my breath was doing. And remember, you got to have breath or you can't use it. So you got to breathe all the time. Everybody should be playing the saxophone and swimming miles and doing all these things to develop the breathing, right? Caruso was still doing the breathing, famous 40-step walk when he was at the end of his life, when he was 48 years old, and had been the greatest singer in history already for 25 years, and he was still doing breathing exercises. Think about it. He said he called it the massive power of the respiration required for great singing. Imagine. Well, he practiced what he preached. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and I hope this helps somebody. Let me know what you think. Give me a comment or something. Bye.